So Fred, you grew up in MIlton, and you decided to move here to Harland Street about, what, 20?
Yeah, about 23 years ago. My wife and I both grew up in the town, and knowing the town as well as we did, we knew where we wanted to end up. And we lived for a while on Woodland Road, not too far from here, and then had the chance to build this home, and where we ultimately wanted our home here on Harland Street.
It's a beautiful house. You did a fantastic job with the layout, and I understand that you really did put a lot of thought into the design of the house. You were in it from the very beginning.
Yeah, I was involved with the company that built it, and we took the original plans and essentially brought them to an architect and redid them to our own specifications. For example, none of this the dark paneling here in the family room was in the original plan, but we thought it made it warmer.
I like the layout as well. Having the first floor master bedroom, then bedrooms upstairs, and the lower level, putting the in-law apartment down there, or that could be used as an au pair, could be used as an in-law. That's fantastic.
Yeah, it doesn't feel like you're in the basement when you go to the apartment downstairs because it's a walkout. It has its own patio and its own walkout. My mother lived there for many years. And, my wife's the one who wanted to put the laundry on the first floor because it was more convenient, and the master bedroom on the first floor because we're lazy, I guess. But when my children were here, they lived upstairs.
What I'm really curious about is, the setting here is just stunning. And what's your favorite season?
Well, it's hard to say. The seasons all have their own magnificence. In the spring, when everything just bursts out, when everything blooms, the flowers, the trees, it's truly beautiful, which starts late April into May and June. The summer is a kind of a continuation of the flowers and the green. And then the fall has its own magnificence. It's just we don't have to go to New Hampshire or Vermont because we look out our back windows and all the leaves, the oak trees primarily, I guess, and maple, just give us that whole color scene. In the winter, until I get tired of it, the novelty wears off in a long winter, but in the early stages when we first get blanketed in snow, it's beautiful. Okay. So each season is beautiful.
Mm-hmm. And you have had deer, and you'll have some occasional...
We have deer virtually all the time. The deer wander through the trails in back of the house. We've had as many as a half dozen in our yard at times. We have wild turkey that land on the property pretty regularly. Fox, raccoons. You don't see the raccoons much because they're nocturnal, but we've occasionally seen them. Unlimited rabbits and fox, as I said. So, and then you get the birds. The great place for birders because of the huge variety that we get. Most interesting to me are the hawks that soar the skies over the Blue Hills. I stand on the deck and watch them with binoculars. So it's really like having a private zoo to live up here in the woods.
Well, it has to be fantastic, the setting. And you have out in the back, easy access right up into the Blue Hills.
Yeah, one of the trails passes basically through our backyard, right down at the tail end. And you can follow that from that to all the trails through the Blue Hills, and including about a half mile from here, a watering hole that was built many years ago by damming up a stream. And I used to take my dog swimming there.
That's great.
Probably having said all that, the fascinating part about living here is that we're 10 or 12 miles out of downtown Boston. I can leave here in the morning and be at Logan Airport in 15 minutes. And that's amazing when you feel like you're in Vermont and yet you're really just barely outside of the city.
I know when I take customers on a tour of MIlton, this is one of the places where I bring them. The natural beauty here in the hillside area is just second to none, with a 15 to 20 minute ride to downtown Boston.
Yeah.
One thing I did want to ask you, and I know you have done some research on kind of the history of the area. In this particular spot, did you say it's called
Scott's Woods? It's variously known as Scott's *S and SCOTS, so I'm not sure which was the original, but from colonial times, this whole area was known as Scott's Woods. And it was the farm part of town. It was where all the farming had done and where all the horses were housed. We still have the horses. Not much farming being done anymore, although the Oldfield now have enough acreage they actually are a registered farm. But without too much farming, we still have all the horses. All the horse barns are in this area. We share when we walk our dogs, we share the roads with the equestrians, and that's kind of interesting. The horses are all just a little up the hill from here, so you still have that the feeling, the flavor from Scott's Woods of 200 years ago. It's on the National Registry of Historic Places. Scott's Woods is, as is the Blue Hill Reservations, which we abut. So it's kind of a unique and very, very rural part of town.
Nursery has been here for how long?
My father started it back in 1965.
And you grew up in the neighborhood?
Yep, we grew up in the house right at the property adjacent to the nursery. And now currently my sister lives in that house, and I live across the street, and my brother lives next door.
And so if you had to say what was the best neighborhood in Milton, what would you say?
Of course I'd say it's this neighborhood, since now I've chosen to raise my kids in this neighborhood too.
I think that's one of the best parts about our town is wherever you live seems to be the best neighborhood. But
Right.
for natural beauty, there isn't any place else in town that can come close to the Hillside neighborhood.
No, every season there's something pretty to look at in the neighborhood. Once the fall comes, the colors with the blue hills behind is just really, really nice. And then in the spring, just everything opening up is just great.